Now, speaking of Saudi Arabia, it and China plan to establish and operate jointly a $20 billion investment fund, splitting costs and profits on a 50-50 basis. The Saudi Energy Minister Khalid al-Falih says that the two countries are also expected to sign about 11 business agreements as well. So then, let's dig deeper into exactly what that fund will entail. Yasser Hakim is live in Mecca, Saudi Arabia tonight with more data on the story. Yasser, so Saudi Arabia already has a pretty big sovereign wealth fund, the Public Investment Fund as it's formerly known. It has about $2 trillion worth of assets. Given the current drive to diversify the Saudi economy, what purpose would another investment fund serve?
I think, Rama, what we see now is a major shift in the way Saudi Arabia is trying to do business with the international world. Now it's moving on to China. The huge investment fund that has been signed of $20 billion US dollars, I think will be somewhat different than the $2 trillion that has been put for investments, international investment fund. And it will concentrate more, and I expect it will be more on energy. Renewable energy projects have been put at the forefront of this investment fund, and also, which is more important, I believe, is the nuclear energy for peaceful purposes that will be signed between Saudi Arabia and China. And I believe the West doesn't really encourage so much as China and Russia into Arab or Middle East countries moving into the nuclear world. And Egypt, for example, when it decided to go into its own nuclear facility after a lot of bargaining and the negotiations, it shows Russia, not the US, not France, who have been touted as the premier targets for this nuclear facility. And now Saudi Arabia is doing the same. It's moving with China, more nuclear energy, more renewable energy projects expected in this fund. Rama.
Indeed. So arguably, Saudi Arabia, again, given the amount of money it has in its own sovereign wealth fund, could have funded this by itself. So do we know more about how this fund came about and why Saudi Arabia and China collectively decided to partner on this?
Well, partnering on it together is something that has been planned for a while now. There was a meeting between the Saudi king and the Chinese president maybe 2 years ago and last year as well. And these were being cooked behind the scenes to try to forge some kind of an alliance. I think the political instability that the Arab world has been witnessing with the US, the leadership bringing in the US, bringing in contradicting signals there, has been a major concern. One side taking sides and interfering in the political sphere of Arab countries has pushed a lot of Arab countries to look at other alternatives which are more stable, which want to talk business, not just politics. And China is on the forefront and has been popular with countries in the Middle East, in Africa, and now with Saudi Arabia, that it sees that could be the work for the future away from the US, that has been somewhat a lot of Arab countries depending so much on one side, and now they're looking at the other side that has shown more security as working with. And obviously, remember the US law that's been drafted in the Congress to try to sue Saudi Arabia after the 2011, after the 2001 9/11, if you call it, terrorist attack, and this has scared the Saudis away.
Indeed. One last question for you, Yasser. Now that you're in Saudi Arabia, perhaps we should actually switch to this story. What's the latest on the preparations for the Saudi Aramco IPO? 5% of the company to be floated. But has a decision finally been made on whether to list it in London or in New York, or perhaps even both?
Not yet. As of now, it's all rumors. Nothing came as a definite result. It's between the London Stock Exchange and the New York Stock Exchange. The Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, is the one who will be deciding who to choose. Now, there is a lot of contradiction here. If you look at the London Stock Exchange, Aramco sees London as less profitable but more secure option for Aramco. New York is more profitable if you talk business-wise, but again, this issue of the law courts that could target the Saudis because of the 2011 that I just 2001 that I just mentioned has also will play a big role in the decision. They're afraid of putting more money there and then finding that this money could be confiscated according to the draft at the US Congress. So there's no deadline, by the way, set for this. It's going to be one of the biggest in the history of the stock exchange anywhere in the world. And even Hong Kong stock exchanges now jumped into the bandwagon trying to compete with London and New York. But 5% of Aramco is going to go into is going to be listed. When, we don't know yet. It's not been decided. And where is also the question everyone is waiting for an answer.